welcome to the 2020 State of the University Address. If you had an opportunity, you should have been able to see the agenda for our discussion today. If not, I'll go over it really quickly. We're going to have a quick welcome, which I'm doing right now. And then we'll hear from the Ali to talk about the auditorium theater. We'll hear about COVID-19, teaching and learning, the integration, the contingency plan for the university for return to campus, the presidential awards for social justice, the Fulbright scholarship winners, and then we'll have a Q&A section and we'll have a conclusion. At the end of this, for the Q&A, there will be a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen where you could submit questions. I will then read those questions out to the community so everybody can hear those questions, as well as Ali to answer. Ali will answer those questions at that time. So what would be helpful is if you wait until we probably get to the part where we're talking about the return to campus and or the social justice awards, to make sure that you've given us an opportunity to address all of your concerns. There will be questions that I'm sure you'll have that will be addressed as a part of his discussion topics today. So we'll give it a chance for that. Then we'll open up the Q&A for the community. So without further ado, hopefully everybody's staying safe and well, and welcome to the 2019 State of the University Address. Ali, I'm turning it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As always, I cannot say enough that I want to continue thanking every one of you for all the hard work that you're doing around the clock for teaching, maintaining the operations of the university, and all of the students who have adapted to the virtual coursework and classes. And how quickly everyone responded and stepped up immediately to get our virtual university up and running. I want to use the analogy of moving mountains today. As we were getting ready for the integration of Robert Morris University, we knew this was a high mountain and we had to move it to make sure integration goes well. As we were moving that mountain, then the global pandemic happened. And in the middle of moving the first mountain, now we're also busy moving the second mountain. So we'll get back to this analogy. I also want to thank our COVID-19 task force. Okay, am I muted?
No, we can hear you fine.
Okay, somebody says I'm muted. All right. I want to thank our COVID-19 task force and emergency management operation team that is working collaboratively day and night, overseeing the decisions that have been made, as well as anticipating the future and possible further impacts to our university. Folks, our teams are working really day and night to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible, understanding there will be glitches. Now, we do not know exactly how long this emergency might last, but we will be able and ready to adjust and act accordingly. And thank you for all of you for your patience and your diligence. Now, I should mention that information technology, residence life, finance, HR, legal, academic affairs, advancement, facilities, campus safety, and my office are working together in unison for the betterment of the university during this health crisis. Obviously, communication is a key component to our success around business continuity. And as you have been receiving daily updates from our marketing and communication team and Nicole's team, I'm very grateful for that, attempting to keep you informed. And the website and the Q&A that we have on the websites for COVID-19 also provides vital information to our mobile app in order to make sure the community is well informed. So communications are sent out daily to update you, the students, faculty, and staff, and helping all of us to understand the contingency plans that are being put in place as a result of COVID-19. Tutorials have been developed and taught online. We'll get back to those, including training for new employees on Inside Roosevelt, as well as Zoom meetings, something that is now the new normal for all of us. Raise your hand if you love Zoom. Okay. Now raise your other hand if you hate Zoom. All right, there we go. Now, can you believe that it's only been 3 weeks since the state announced strict mandates around staying at home and self-quarantining whenever possible? It feels like it's been months. Now, the situation has only been escalating, and we expect that to continue. So we must continue to adjust and adapt as this happens. Getting direction and updates from the government and higher education community is what we're trying to do almost daily and perhaps hourly. So this puts a lot of pressure on everyone, personally, professionally, socially, and mentally. And I recognize that. And I want to really say kudos to all of you and each and every one of you for being patient and dealing with this amazing, amazing emergency. Plus, we're one of few industries that must continue to operate in order to maintain a pathway for our students to succeed and earn a degree. The road to a degree must continue no matter what. I think it's also important for us to continue to operate because as a place of higher learning, we provide a balance, a certain level of stability and distraction, while everyone's concern is staying healthy and keeping everyone around them also healthy. So learning, studying, connecting with peers and students while virtually is healthy for the mind and the spirit at this moment. Now, as you all know, our campuses are closed except for essential personnel. These include maintenance, campus safety, building engineers, human resource staff, residence halls advisors, payroll, and mailroom staff. All of you who would like to receive your payroll, raise your hand. I thought so, yes. So special thank you to those people who are able to come to work and maintain the operations of the university because it's absolutely essential for all of us. Now, in the 3 weeks that we have essentially been staying at home, there have been a lot of progress on many fronts, including how we maintain the facilities of our university as a safe and healthy place to be. And I'll be updating you a little bit on those today. Now, Dean of Pharmacy, Melissa Hogan, who chaired the COVID-19 task force, will be presenting today during my address to provide you with a high-level summary of things that have been happening and what to expect as it relates to Roosevelt from a clinical perspective. So you will hear from her shortly. This is roughly the outline of what I will be covering. Auditorium theater updates, Melissa Hogan will talk, then teaching and learning, integration topics, contingency planning as it relates to summer courses, graduation, and also returning to our campus, which we all plan to do, and the announcement of 2020 presidential awards for social justice, as well as 2 recent recipients of Fulbrights among our faculty. So we will talk a little bit about that. So let me talk briefly about remote learning and instruction as we have been making proactive efforts to training and investing in technology to help our community. Our investment in technology is crucial as we shift to virtual scenarios, not only for academics, but also for remote working operations as well. Now, my regular meetings are now happening by Zoom, several times a day, and I know all of you are doing the same thing, except now I can't share the chocolate in my office with you. I apologize for that, but Michael Ford has promised to send each of you a piece of chocolate as if you were meeting with me today. Correct, Michael? Just say yes.
Yes, you got it.
All right, here we go. Now, of course, you're not teaching in the classic face-to-face classroom environment. This is a huge, huge shift. Now, we were lucky that we had so many faculty who had gone through training on online instruction in the past couple of years. So those people were able to shift relatively easily, but others as well. Now, a shift that is important to stay competitive, retain and continue to recruit students. So I can't emphasize that enough. So I'm very grateful for the faculty and the staff who made this possible. So if you think about it, many universities, including Roosevelt, have been pursuing online options and degrees for quite some time because it reaches a larger audience and it is more efficient and uses a channel that most generations are now more comfortable with and sometimes prefer. However, I want you to know that face-to-face classroom instruction will never go away at Roosevelt and will always be the core mission of the university. So we'll be watching for that. Now, however, we must adjust in this new environment and be as creative as we can be. So some of the decisions that we have made have not been easy. We all make hard choices and sacrifices for the good of the community and others within the university. Now, these are unforeseen events and not something we expected or any individual company or university planned for. Again, as we were integrating Robert Morris University, the pandemic happened. And here we are moving the second mountain. So as a university, we must continue to be sure that we are academically and financially stronger for our students, faculty, and staff. During this time, I am truly grateful for the role that the trustees of the university are playing in supporting the administration, supporting me, supporting the students, and financially, as well as encouraging all of us to continue our good work. So thank you so much, trustees. Now, we make decisions based on, yes, finances to run the university, but more importantly, opportunities for our students and for what fits with the social justice mission of the university. We are a university that truly cares for and supports our students. An example of this is the current campaign for the Student Emergency Fund. In just 2.5 weeks, I'm happy to announce that we raised over $50,000 for the Student Emergency Fund. This money goes directly to our current students who are facing sudden hardships and are in financial needs. As of this morning, we had granted $23,000 to the students for laptops, for rent, for food, for all their needs. And the committee that is granting these awards is meeting 3 times a week to review the applications. So thank you so much for that. Again, thank you to our trustees who contributed over $15,000 to the Student Emergency Fund. And in your executive and Dean's Council, the leadership of the university participated 100% and also contributed $9,000 to the emergency fund. So I'm proud of the way our community has come together and responded to the student needs. So thank you all for all your contributions. But before I turn it over to Melissa Hogan, I want to tell you a little bit about the work of the Auditorium Theater. As you know, a performing arts theater without the performing arts part has to close down. But meanwhile, under the leadership of Rich Reagan, the staff at the auditorium is actively looking for ways to bring the community together even while the theater is closed. For example, they have recently launched 2 online video series focusing on the auditorium and the artists who perform on our stage. This is called At Home with the Auditorium, a weekly performance series featuring singers, musicians, and dancers. So you can view this every Sunday at 6 p.m. And hashtag Odd Talk, a video version of the theater's podcast series highlighting artists that theater works with. These video chats are also posted every Wednesday at noon. So beyond these initiatives, the team at the auditorium is working to reschedule all of the shows that were impacted by the closure and are reaching out to ticket buyers and donors who were affected by these changes. There are many ways to support our National Historic Landmark Auditorium Theater during this time. One example of this change was the Bolshoi Ballet that was coming later on in June this year. But 6 months before that time, they had to ship their stage and all their equipment to Roosevelt. And obviously we had to postpone that. So Rich and his team are working on rescheduling all of that. So with that said, now let me hand it over to Melissa Hogan, who has been steering our university through this pandemic. And it has not been easy, but I wanted to commend her and the team on a great job so far. So Melissa, welcome, and thank you for talking with all of us today.
Thank you, Ali. I appreciate the opportunity to provide an update to the university on the work of the Coronavirus Task Force and the university response to this health crisis. The task force, which is comprised of representatives of all areas of the university, as well as faculty with clinical expertise, began its work the first week of March. It was charged to address the emerging threat of coronavirus as it affected students, faculty, and staff, and to communicate regularly with the university community. The task force began by reviewing and updating relevant policies and by developing an infectious disease response plan. All of this work incorporated guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and the Illinois Department of Public Health. The task force adheres to the guiding principles of supporting the health and well-being of the entire community while ensuring that the academic enterprise continues without interruption. In the past 6 weeks, the Coronavirus Task Force has made several key recommendations, which are documented on the university COVID webpage and summarized in the FAQ that are on the page. Earlier efforts were designed to ensure that employee and academic policies permitted and encouraged faculty, staff, and students to stay home if they had any signs of infection, if they were potentially exposed, or if they were at high risk for complications if infected. Furthermore, all employees and students were required and continue to be required to report any confirmed cases of COVID-19 to Toya Stewart or to Jamar Orr. This is to ensure that we can notify the public health department and inform direct contacts as well as the community at large if the person has been on campus in the previous 14 days. As was announced previously, we have had one confirmed case that was on campus and in contact with members of the Roosevelt community. Fortunately, that person is recovering and none of the known contacts have subsequently developed symptoms of coronavirus. IT and academic technology began in early March to prepare faculty and staff for the possibility of converting classes and operations online. Likewise, deans and department chairs worked closely with faculty to prepare for this possibility. Then on March 12th, the university decided to extend spring break by 1 week and to convert all classes online starting March 23rd, which enabled students to stay home rather than return to campus. Importantly, the residence halls remain open so that students who need to remain on campus can do so. This approach requires significant additional planning and resources, but it's the right thing to do for our students. At the time of the move to online delivery, campus offices and operations remained open. However, coinciding with the governor's stay-at-home order on March 21st, all Roosevelt campuses were closed and remain closed to all but essential personnel and those students who are staying in the dorms because they cannot return home. IT and academic technology continue to support all of us as we carry on working remotely, and the Provost's office continues to work closely with deans and chairs to support online course delivery. I want to take a moment to share some of the ways that Roosevelt is supporting our community in this time of need. College of Pharmacy, pharmacist faculty are right now in the front lines caring for critically ill patients in our Chicago hospitals. One of our graduates is a COVID tester. Other graduates are volunteering to staff the McCormick Center alternate care facility to care for the upcoming surge of patients. And about half of our class of 2020 are on rotations in community pharmacies, serving as frontline healthcare providers. Finally, Mount Sinai, a critical access hospital in Chicago, is a strong partner of the College of Pharmacy, as well as the Robert Morris clinical programs. After providing needed personal protective equipment to essential Roosevelt staff, the College of Pharmacy donated all of our remaining lab supplies to the pharmacy department at Mount Sinai. Likewise, Robert Morris clinical supplies were donated to the nursing department at Mount Sinai. In all, hundreds of gloves, gowns, masks, and other supplies got into the hands of those who need them the most. We can all be proud of how our university has supported its community at this time. Looking at what we know about the course of this pandemic, we can expect continued disruption to our normal practices for at least several weeks to come. We will continue to monitor and follow city, state, and federal mandates, in addition to CDC and public health guidance. As we are able to transition back to opening the campus, we'll create reasonable timelines for changes to give everyone time to adapt. I'm so proud of the response of our university to the challenge, and I look forward to the time when we can gather together again. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa, for your leadership during this difficult and emotional time. And I will also like to mention that the state has asked all licensed pharmacists to be on call. And of course, Melissa and some of her faculty members are on call. And they may be asked to for service. So again, thank you so much for your leadership during this difficult and emotional time. So let me now turn into teaching and learning. Now, I would like to talk a bit more about what's going on in the classrooms and so forth. With this crisis, all universities unexpectedly changed their mode of delivery. I want to take a moment and emphasize the critical importance of all faculty adjusting your syllabi to the online format. This was not easy, I acknowledge that, but it had to be done. This is also an opportunity to not only continue your courses, but to rethink what it would look like as we compete against other universities with online capabilities. To that point, I know there are many creative and unique things that all of you are doing in your classes and finding out about. So I ask you that you share your stories with me, with Provost Becker, with your deans, so that we can share it with the larger community and we can all learn about the best practices. So we really need to hear from you. Now I have some highlights of the way our staff has mobilized to meet the rapid changes we're facing. Library and Technology Services has quickly scaled up its services to students, faculty, and staff in an unprecedented manner. The library has moved all of its operation and access online and has seen a significant rise in online interaction, including 30% increase in electronic interlibrary loans, 59% increase in online chat sessions, and 75% increase in online database usage. Now, Academic Technology Solutions, ATS, partner with faculty to move, let me emphasize this, over 600 courses online in 2 weeks. 600 courses moved online in a matter of 2 weeks. They have continued to support these with virtual office hours and training sessions every day, including evenings, of which more than 300 faculty have attended at least one of these sessions. ATS also developed a remote teaching guide for faculty and a remote participation guide for students, each of which has been viewed more than 1,000 times, while also responding to more than 350 support requests. ATS also manages Zoom, which saw a 358% increase in meetings and 672% increase in meeting participants compared to the same time last year. In addition, ATS has begun offering a 24/7 help desk amidst a 300% increase in support ticket submissions. So behind the scenes, also our infrastructure team was able to virtualize our inbound customer service call centers so that financial aid, ATRU, and IT help desk could continue to receive phone calls from their constituents, and has kept up with more than 2,100% increase in VPN use. So all of our colleagues can have access to vital university systems safely from your homes. So thank you to all of our staff members who have been instrumental in providing critical support so that we continue our good work. Back to the movement of the first mountain, the integration of Robert Morris University and our colleagues from Robert Morris. It was just about a week before the stay-at-home orders came in that we announced the integration of Robert Morris University was finalized. I do not want this historic milestone to go unnoticed, and I want to thank everyone who made this happen. For months and months, we planned how to do this as we sought approval from all the accrediting agencies and governmental agencies. Now the actual work of the integration has resumed after the approval. And I have the good news to share with you that that integration is proceeding extremely well. Faculty and staff have worked tirelessly on ongoing move of Robert Morris into Roosevelt buildings. I want to especially thank Dr. Michael Ford and Nino Randazzo, working with approximately 40 faculty and staff and colleagues. They were able to make the move from various Robert Morris facilities to Roosevelt facilities. And one other volunteer who had nothing else to do, by the way, these days, called Michael Cassidy, also volunteered on a couple of Saturdays to go in and help people move. So Michael, thank you so much for volunteering, and all of you for doing this good work. And of course, you know, I should mention Jeff Dobrezio, our amazing engineer, who not only keeps our buildings safe and operating, but also was incredibly instrumental during this move. Jeff, raise your hand. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you and your team's good work, as well as our security staff. So overall, the new university welcomed approximately 1,300 new students into its doors on March 10. So in cooperation with IT and HR staff, employee files were transferred over and IDs were provided, a task that may sound easy, but it was incredibly complex with several layers of work that had to be completed. You know, hundreds of faculty and thousands of students received the support and they were able to sign up for classes. Now, let me go back to the 35 task forces that we have. The admissions, human resources, and finance systems have already been integrated now to a large extent. However, several task forces are still meeting regularly and will continue to work towards better integration of our two universities. A good example of this is a cross-functional task force that is focused on student life cycle. Think about that, student life cycle. This is the administrative work behind the scenes, if you will, of when a student goes from admission to financial aid to advising, registrar, student accounts, and student progress through their classes to graduation. So this task force meets weekly to explore integrated processes and systems integration so that we can make the work of the students much more integrated and more efficient and more effective, more importantly. Now, a lot of work still remains to be done to merge financial aid, student registration, Blackboard, and many other systems that we have. This work is expected to be completed in early July. Also, there's a long list of people that I need to thank for all this work, but allow me to highlight that all offices are working together to ensure that we create the best possible experience for our students. Now, meanwhile, a few words about contingency plans. Besides planning for COVID-19, many, if not most, Roosevelt events have been canceled, rescheduled, and are now virtual, including, unfortunately, events tied to 75th anniversary of the university, graduation, commencement, and other academically related lectures and symposia. All spring and summer term 1 classes will be offered fully online. By the end of April, Provost Becker will determine if the remaining summer terms that begin July 6th will be offered in a face-to-face or online format, so stay tuned for that. An updated schedule with the remaining summer courses and updates will be available on Friday, May 1, so you will be informed. Now, as most of you have heard, we had to make the difficult decision to postpone our May 8th commencement, basically a month from now. Obviously, we couldn't get into the auditorium theater to have the commencement. This is undoubtedly a very emotional situation for our graduates and their families. And we did hear from the student government. So we will attempt to reschedule this event. We have sent out a survey to the graduating class, asking them what are perhaps the most convenient times where we may hold an alternate graduation event or some other way to celebrate their graduation. The results of the survey, along with guidance from local and state authorities, will guide the decision to reschedule this ceremony. Now, also, please, please, please emphasize to your students that while commencement has been postponed, graduation of students and conferral of degrees has not been postponed. Those students graduating, once they finish their work, they are still getting their degrees on time at the end of this semester. Okay, now we realize that any rescheduled date may not accommodate everyone, but we're hopeful to see that by the end of this pandemic or the easing up of the pandemic, if the state allows us, we can get together again. And also by that time, these graduating students are proud alumni of the university, and we look forward to working with them. So this is while the pandemic is going on. At the same time, I mentioned briefly that we are planning and have contingency plans or putting together a contingency plan to return to campus. But before I say a bit more about that, We will also, in a minute or two, I will get to presidential award winners for social justice and so forth. On the emergency operation, I should mention that we have now a subcommittee specifically designed to focus for us to return to campus, specifically timing of return, logistics, building cleaning, overall facilities readiness, and of course, any celebration we need to have so that we get together again. We will share this information as it becomes available and it's appropriate, but please be patient because it changes every day, especially with the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois making announcements on a daily basis. Now, on a positive note, even the mayor has said that Lollapalooza has not been canceled, and this event is, of course, in our backyard. So we're looking forward to that. Now, to some very, very good news. I'm truly honored to announce this year's Presidential Award for Social Justice. This is the second annual awards to recognize those individuals among us that have gone beyond the call of duty in their work as a student, faculty, or staff member. It is to honor those who have exemplified their ongoing commitment to and demonstration of social justice. Today, we celebrate the leadership and accomplishments of the following award recipients for serving as advocates for change. Our first award winner is Barbara Anderson, nominated by Esteban Montano, Director of Libraries. Barbara Anderson is the head of instruction and learning in the Roosevelt Library. She led the development of an academic library curriculum that centers on social justice and has created an online research platform and teaching for students about information literacy. Barb has also championed a research learning outcome rubric to help faculty, students, and research mentors understand expectations for student research while introducing social justice topics. So congratulations to Barbara. Our second award winner is Jackson Newsom, nominated by Dr. Susan Torres Harding, Professor of Psychology. Jackson Newsom is a student in the Clinical Psychology Doctoral Program. In his academic, clinical, and research work at Roosevelt, Jackson has greatly contributed to a more fair and accepting climate for gender and sexual minority individuals. As a teacher, Jackson sought to provide an inclusive and respectful environment for students. He chaired the all-gender restroom task force at Roosevelt, which has expanded restroom access for students on campus. Now, as part of his clinical training, he also provided culturally affirmative and responsive clinical services to many populations in the Chicago area. Congratulations, Jackson. Our third and final award winner is Professor Ray Fruin, nominated by Parker Morley, a student. Ray Fruin is an associate professor of theater, as well as the director of the Theater Conservatory and associate dean of the Chicago College of Performing Arts. He's a constant advocate for transgender students and fights to ensure that their identities are recognized and supported. According to Parker Morley, Professor Fruin, I quote, will not hesitate to fix wrongdoings that affects his students, unquote. So overall, congratulations to Barbara, Jackson, and Ray. And I look forward to recognizing all of you during the fall once we get back together and we will recognize your accomplishments. Now, we were lucky this past week that we heard about two of our colleagues were honored with the prestigious Fulbright Scholar Awards. Professor John Fountain, professor of journalism, and Dr. Margaret Rung, Professor of History and Director of Center for New Deal Studies. John will spend a year in Ghana. His Fulbright Award is a combination of teaching and research scholarship and a reflection of his scholarship and leadership and his contribution to the society. Congratulations, John. Margie has received a Fulbright to the People's Republic of China for the spring semester of 2021. This is Margie's second Fulbright. She spent the 2000 and 2001 academic year as a Fulbright scholar at the University of Latvia. So congratulations to John Fountain and Margie Rong. Okay, with that, I will take two questions for those who are watching, and then I will have a very brief concluding remarks.
Okay, it looks like we only have one question at this time. And that question is, has there been any new talks about implementing pass-fail grading system?
Michael, why don't you let me answer that? We are not going, the university is not going to universal pass-fail. Students should speak with their faculty members if they're having difficulties. And they have the option then of perhaps taking an incomplete or whatever sort of arrangement they work out with their faculty member. The faculty know that we are being quite liberal in the use of incompletes if necessary, etc. But the university as a whole will continue. There'll be no asterisk by the spring semester 2020.
Okay. Another question, what measures are being taken to protect the essential RU workers who have worked on campus from the virus? Are RU workers who are at higher risk being allowed to stay at home and continue to be paid and receive benefits? Or are RU workers, including workers at the auditorium and theater, continuing to be paid and receive benefits?
Okay. All right, let me address that. Yes, the answer is yes. At this moment, we haven't made any announcements as far as nobody receiving their pay. And just like all of you who are working remotely, everybody else is in the same stage. Now, as we move forward, we'll make some decisions on a weekly and monthly basis. Now, those essential workers who are coming to campus, we are maintaining very, very cautious protocols for those workers, for those colleagues who come to campus. Again, payroll staff need to be on campus, mail staff need to be on campus, but they're coming one by one by one. HR staff, I was talking to Toya yesterday, and she's making sure only one person is in the office at a time. And even then, if a second person shows up, they're keeping their distances. So we're abiding by the distance protocol as much as possible and making sure the community is safe.
Good. Can Robert Morris students take advantage of the Student Emergency Fund?
Okay, I'll pass this one to Jamar. Jamar, would you like to answer that, please?
Sure thing. Yes, the emergency fund is open to all students, and that includes our Robert Morris students as well. So any student that you know who's in need of support, feel free to send them the link.
Okay. And I will also add that, remember, as of March 10, everybody is a Roosevelt student.
Okay. Let's see here. Are there any plans to increase the newfound online class options permanently?
Again, this is an academic issue that maybe Lois can answer, but we have to look at this and absolutely consult with the faculty, with our Senate leaders, with the deans, with the leadership of the department, and all faculty. We have been on the trajectory to increase online options. And my guess is the demand will come not only from the students, but also from the faculty. but maybe Lois can address this a little bit better than I can.
I think that was an excellent answer, Ali. As you said, we have been developing more and more online programs, online certificates. The MBA is going to be online starting in the fall, but it will follow if we continue to do more online. I mean, this is something that we will discuss and we will determine whether or not it makes sense for everyone.
Will federal student workers continue to receive pay throughout the closure, even if it's extended through the summer semester?
Okay. Andrew, would you like to address this one, please? And maybe perhaps Toya as well, but Andrew, you start.
Sure, I'll start. Thank you. Yeah, we are continuing to pay our student employees on federal work study. All of that money is available and is being used to support those students for as long as the funds, the federal funds remain.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Toya, would you like to amplify that?
No, Andrew said it best.
Okay.
Are there Laker grant applications being approved? Let me see. Are all Laker grant applications being approved? If not, what are the criteria for their approval?
Okay. Jamar, would you like to address that, please?
Sure. So the answer is no. Not all applications are being approved. The criteria that we look at are is it a current Roosevelt University student? So some students are putting in requests for things that would for the family, but not necessarily them. And so we're able to use student funds for those things. The other ones that are being denied are those that don't have any documentation. So for example, if a student writes in saying they need help supporting the cost of a light bill, well, we would require that light bill in. And so with those students, we are following up with them, asking them to submit to us the documentation that is needed to push their application through to approval.
Okay. How many full-time and part-time RU faculty have been integrated into the university?
Toya, would you like to address that one?
Yes.
Total numbers?
Sure. Over 200, and the numbers will continue to change with more course offerings for adjunct employees.
What provisions will be made for cleaning the university prior to our return?
I can take that one. You know, we have an ongoing contract with ABM Custodial. They have been working throughout to maintain our facilities. And as the task force that the president mentioned about returning when this is done is doing its work, it will consider the necessary lead time to bring ABM in before everyone returns, make sure every facility is addressed one last time before we all come back in force, and everything will be clean and sterilized and ready for our return in mass.
Are you looking at recruitment efforts relative to all the Illinois students back at home? The students that have left the state for higher education but are now back?
Okay. You know, just a little bit of an anecdote I'll mention, and then I'll turn it over to Mike Cassidy. The feedback that we're getting actually nationally in various surveys is indicating that many students are indicating that they want to remain closer to home. And in effect, that is an advantage for us being in a major metropolitan city. And as you know, we have been losing many Illinois students and Chicago students to other states. So this would be a very good opportunity for us to ask the students to come back home and of course to Roosevelt University. So with that said, Mike Cassidy, would you like to respond to that? Unless you're busy volunteering for some other work that I can't see.
No, I'll just echo what you said. Yes, the national kind of surveys that have gone out have shown that students are reconsidering their college. Those new students, high schoolers, are reconsidering their college search, and those continuing students are reconsidering where they might attend in the future, especially out of state students closer to home. So we are actively working and connecting with our marketing office to put together a campaign to make the outreach to students, to let them know that in a time of uncertainty, the one certainty is the great education they can get at Roosevelt close to home.
Great. Mike, this one's for you as well. Will student athletes who rely on their athletic scholarships to attend RU, and it just moved down on me, be able to still receive their scholarships, even though they're not physically able to participate in their sport?
Yes, so we are honoring all athletic scholarships, and we'll do so moving forward, even in a scenario where public health guidelines do not allow us to come back immediately in the fall. Should any of the fall seasons be impacted the way our spring sports seasons were, we would continue to honor all athletic scholarships.
Okay. Are there any major financial or operational concerns for the university that are a direct result of COVID-19, such as the collection of tuition revenue limited during the services and et cetera?
Okay, I will again give a broad commentary on that, and then maybe Andrew, you can be a bit more specific. The good news overall is that as we moved to an online environment, we didn't lose many students. There was no wholesale leaving of classes and abandoning their degrees and so forth, which is great news. So our business has continued, our operation has continued. And so far we haven't heard anything regarding any red flags regarding tuition payments and other things. Now, of course, as we go forward, chances are the students who are not able to work may have a harder time meeting some of their obligations, etc. But at this moment, that hasn't happened. So Andrew, you want to amplify?
Thank you, Ali. What I'll add to that is in the areas where you might expect us to have taken a decrease in revenue, obviously we have, and that's particularly related to summer conference services and things that we've had to cancel because of the citywide and statewide orders. Everything else the president said is true. What I provide as context, though, is that there are aid programs that will bear some fruit for the university. The organization that advocates on our behalf, us being an independent college, is securing resources from federal and other grants that will flow through to Roosevelt, and that will help blunt some of the lost revenue from conference services and other areas. But by and large, the business model remains intact. We are in constant contact with our lenders and others who provide us financing, and so far, everything looks stable. So that's the good news for now.
Are there financial aid implications for students if they receive more than one incomplete for their classes?
If I may.
Lois, please.
I do not know the specific answer to that, and it certainly depends upon the student's financial aid, whether it's a scholarship, whether it's Pell, etc. And this is why, actually, one of the reasons why we're not going to universal pass-fail, because that would impact the financial aid of veterans. It would impact financial aid for students with specific types of scholarships, or if they're getting some of their funds from employers who are assisting with their education. A student really needs to check that out with financial aid before going to an incomplete.
Okay. What effect does the significant stock market decline have on our financial picture, especially with regard to bond covenants?
Okay.
Ali, I can take that one if you like. Yeah, so the most direct impact of the decline in the stock market comes to the endowment of the university. The total value of the university, of course, has decreased as the stock market has decreased. We draw 4.5% of our endowment to fund various activities within the operating budget. But that is on a trailing 3-year average. So the impact is blunted a bit because of that process. We have no negative effect on the bond covenants. We are in full compliance with all of our lending agreements. And as I indicated earlier, we're in constant contact with our bondholder representatives and are meeting all bond covenants. And we'll continue to do so for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Many colleges and universities throughout the U.S. and here in Illinois have moved their decision days from 5/1 to 6/1 or even later. Where's RU in this discussion?
Mike Cassidy.
Yes, so we have moved our decision day priority deposit deadline to June 1, kind of in line with what many of our peers were doing, but really to speak to our population specifically, wanting to give them the necessary time they need to make that right choice for them. But it also kind of speaks to what we were talking about prior in terms of additional outreach we're making to those students who might be reconsidering their college choice, to give them the time to attend now one of our virtual tours or virtually meet with one of our counselors and really give them the chance to explore Roosevelt and consider Roosevelt as that right place for them in the fall.
Will students get back any fees, CTA, UPass, etc.? Are we planning to refund any students who had to leave the dorms as well?
I can take that question, Ali. As it relates to the CTA UPass, we are not in charge of those refunds. The CTA is, and they have decided that at this point, they're not issuing refunds on the cost of the CTA UPass. As it relates to meal plans, last Thursday, we issued a statement out to all of our residential students that outlined our meal plan credits. They will be receiving up to a $400 credit if they were a traditional Roosevelt student, or up to $443 if they were a former Robert Morris student. And there's additional information on the COVID-19 website outlining the specifics of that plan.
This looks like a question from a student. President Ali, if you could say one thing to students in these trying times, what would that be?
Persistence. Persistence. Some of us who are a little bit older than some of the students understand that there are cycles in life, that there are ups and downs and recessions and unfortunately pandemics and so forth. Please persist. You will succeed. Some of you attended many of our commencement ceremonies and so forth. And my message has always been, our message as a university has always been, you will succeed if you persist. And all of us are here to help you do that. It will be hard. These are uncertain times. But at the same time, if you have the will to succeed and you have the patience, and also remember our social justice mission, be kind to your fellow students, to your faculty, to the staff of the university. If we're kind to each other as a community and persist, we will succeed. So hang in there. Is that 3 words or 1 word?
All right, and we are at 2:30, but I will take one more question here, and it says, will RU still be using Pearson's platform of Robert Morse for student assignments? And in parentheses, it says not recommended. I don't know, Niraj? And I don't know if Niraj can hear us, or if he's able to speak.
I think that's a discussion that we have to have with the Dean of the Robert Morris Experiential College. It's not a decision that I think we can make centrally. So I will have that discussion and we can inform the group back. But I'll take a note of the person who posed that question and I can respond back to the individual.
Okay. Okay, that concludes our Q&A portion, and I'll turn it back over to Ali for his closing remarks.
Okay. Allow me 2 seconds to bring up the screen. Okay. I want to mention overall, as Mike Cassidy mentioned, fortunately, enrollment is holding. We are just slightly down for summer enrollment, but the picture for fall looks stable, and there hasn't been a wholesale dropout of students not signing up. So that gives me the optimism that going forward we'll have all of our students returning and many additional students joining us. I started my remarks by mentioning that now we're moving 2 mountains simultaneously. We will get to the other side of this amazing challenge, the COVID-19, and we will be academically and financially stronger once we get to the other side of it. I want to thank everyone for attending this address. Thank you for your hard work and increased efforts during this pandemic. Now, I do have an overwhelming sense of pride for being your ambassador because of the amazing work that each and every one of you does. And you work hard and you work diligently in this time of crisis. Now, let's join the governor in his All in Illinois campaign and pledge our commitment to do our part for the greater Chicagoland community. This will only speed up the time for us to return to our campus. Our normal job environment will be on campus, so we'll look forward to that. And most importantly, to see our friends, our families, loved ones, and host and attend events and dine in restaurants and so on. So I urge you again to visit the COVID-19 site, a depository of all the information and updates and FAQs that we have on a daily basis. So be safe, be well, protect yourself, and protect your neighbor. Good luck to all of you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks everyone for attending, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.